The boundaries of space. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Terran research vessel Horizon, watching the swirling purple atmosphere of Nexus 7 below. The alien planet had been her home for the past 6 months, ever since Earth's Science Division had established their first permanent research base on this distant world. What made Nexus 7 particularly fascinating wasn't just its breathable atmosphere or its strange crystalline flora. It was its inhabitants, the Vixians. "Commander, you might want to see this." Dr. James Rodriguez's voice crackled through her communicator, pulling her from her thoughts. "We're getting some unusual readings from the Vixian settlement." Sarah made her way through the station's sleek corridors, her boots clicking against the polished metal floor. The research center's main lab was a hub of activity, with holographic displays showing various data streams and sensor readings. Dr. Rodriguez, the team's xenobiologist, was hunched over a console, his dark eyes fixed on a series of fluctuating graphs. "What's so unusual about these readings?" Sarah asked, leaning over his shoulder. "Look at these biochemical markers." James pointed to a particularly erratic line. "The Vixian population is showing massive spikes in hormonal activity. According to our database, this only happens during their..." He paused, clearing his throat, "their mating season." Sarah raised an eyebrow. The Vixians were humanoid beings with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors with their emotions. Despite their similar body structure to humans, their biology was fundamentally different, based on crystalline structures rather than carbon. "We knew this would happen eventually," Sarah said. "The briefing mentioned their reproductive cycle. We just need to maintain professional distance and..." She was interrupted by the lab's doors sliding open. Lyra, their Vixian liaison officer, entered the room. Her skin was shimmering with patterns of deep purple and gold, colors Sarah had never seen on her before. Like all Vixians, Lyra was tall and graceful, with features that seemed almost too perfect to be natural. But today, there was something different about her presence, an intensity that made the air feel charged with static electricity. "Commander Chen," Lyra's voice had a musical quality that seemed more pronounced than usual. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important." "Not at all," Sarah replied, noticing how James suddenly became very interested in his data readings. "We were just discussing some unusual energy signatures from your settlement." Lyra moved closer, her movement fluid like flowing water. "Ah yes, the season of unity approaches. It's a very significant time for my people." She turned to James, who was still pretending to be absorbed in his work. "Dr. Rodriguez, your recent research on Vixian crystalline biology has been fascinating. Perhaps you'd be interested in some first-hand observations." James's face flushed red. That's very kind of you, but I should probably stick to my laboratory studies." Sarah stepped between them, her commander instincts kicking in. "Lyra, while we appreciate your openness to scientific collaboration, there are certain boundaries we need to maintain." Lyra's skin rippled with patterns of deep blue. "Boundaries," she repeated, as if testing the word. "Yes, your species seems very concerned with those. But haven't you ever wondered what lies beyond them? What possibilities await when two different forms of life truly connect?" The air in the lab seemed to grow thicker, heavier with unspoken tension. Sarah noticed other human researchers in the lab stealing glances at Lyra, their work forgotten. Even she couldn't deny the strange pull she felt toward the Vixian, like gravity had suddenly shifted in her direction. "I think," Sarah said firmly, "we should schedule a formal meeting to discuss proper protocols during this sensitive period." Lyra's skin flickered with what might have been amusement. "Of course, Commander. Though I should warn you, my people's biology during the season of unity can have unexpected effects on other species, even those who try to maintain their precious boundaries." As Lyra gracefully exited the lab, Sarah felt a mix of relief and something else she couldn't quite name. She turned to address her team, who seemed to be coming out of a collective trance. "Listen up, everyone. Starting today, we're implementing strict interaction protocols. No one is to be alone with any Vixian without proper authorization. We're scientists, not... She searched for the right words, not participants in an interstellar dating experiment. James finally looked up from his console. "Commander, maybe we should consider temporarily relocating some personnel to the orbital station. These readings suggest the biochemical effects might be more potent than we anticipated." Sarah shook her head. "We can't abandon our research just because things get complicated. We just need to be professional and remember our training." As she looked around at her team, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that maintaining professional boundaries might prove harder than any of them expected. The next few weeks would test not just their scientific discipline, but their very understanding of the boundaries between species. Little did they know, these boundaries were about to be challenged in ways none of their training had prepared them for, and the line between observer and participant would become increasingly blurred in the purple light of Nexus 7's twin suns. Crystal fever. A week had passed since Lyra's visit to the lab, and the situation at the research station was becoming increasingly complicated. Commander Sarah Chen stood in her office, reviewing the latest incident reports with growing concern. 3 researchers had requested emergency leave. Equipment was being mysteriously misplaced, only to be found in Vixian settlements. And most worryingly, Dr. James Rodriguez hadn't left his lab in 48 hours, claiming he was close to a breakthrough in understanding Vixian biochemistry. "Computer, show me Lab 7's security feed," Sarah commanded. The holographic display flickered to life, showing James surrounded by glowing crystal samples. His usually neat appearance was disheveled, and he was talking to himself while taking readings. Sarah sighed and headed to the lab. The corridor lights seemed to pulse with an unusual purple tinge, another unexplained phenomenon that had started recently. As she approached Lab 7, she could hear James' excited muttering through the door. "Amazing, simply amazing. The resonance patterns during the season of Unity. It's not just biological, it's quantum entanglement at a cellular level." "James," Sarah called out as she entered. "When was the last time you slept?" He spun around, his eyes bright with an almost feverish intensity. "Commander, you need to see this." He gestured wildly at his screens. "The Vixian crystalline structure during mating season. It doesn't just change color, it emits a quantum field that can influence organic matter at a molecular level. Even human cells respond to it." Sarah frowned, stepping closer to examine the data. "Are you saying their mating season is actually affecting us physically?" "Not just physically," James ran a hand through his messy hair. "The field creates a kind of resonance. It's like their crystals are trying to harmonize with our biology. That's what everyone's been feeling so strange. And Lyra," he trailed off, his face flushing. "What about Lyra?" Sarah pressed, though she had a feeling she knew where this was going. "She's been visiting. For research purposes, of course," he added quickly, seeing Sarah's expression. "Her crystalline patterns during our conversations, they're absolutely fascinating. The way they respond to emotional states." "James," Sarah cut him off firmly. "You need to step away from this. Get some rest, that's an order." Before he could protest, the lab's door slid open. Lyra stood there, her skin shimmering with patterns that seemed to dance in rhythm with the humming laboratory equipment. Sarah noticed with alarm that the crystal samples in the lab began to pulse in response to her presence. "Dr. Rodriguez," Lyra's voice was like honey and starlight. "I brought you those resonance samples you requested." She held up a container of softly glowing crystals. "Absolutely not," Sarah stepped between them. "Dr. Rodriguez is taking a mandatory rest period. And you," she turned to Lyra, "need to stop encouraging this, whatever this is." Lyra's skin rippled with what might have been amusement. "Commander, your concern for your crew is admirable, but you cannot stop the harmony when it calls. Look at your own hands." Sarah glanced down and was startled to see her skin giving off a faint, crystal-like sheen in the lab's light. She quickly shoved her hands in her pockets. "This isn't about harmony," Sarah insisted. "This is about maintaining proper scientific protocols and keeping my crew safe." Safe from what, Commander? Lyra moved closer, her presence making the air thick with something like static electricity. From understanding, from connection, from evolution itself. From making decisions they might regret, Sarah stood her ground, though she could feel her heart racing. Your biology is affecting my people's judgment. Or perhaps, Lyra suggested, her voice dropping to a whisper, it's simply helping them see possibilities they were too afraid to consider before. The tension in the room was interrupted by an urgent beep from Sarah's communicator. Commander, a panicked voice came through. We've got a situation in the Crystal Gardens. 2 researchers were found, are conducting unauthorized experiments with Vixian crystal formations. Sarah closed her eyes, counting to 10. I'll be right there, she pointed at James. You. Quarters. Sleek. Now, then to Lyra. And you. We need to establish some serious boundaries before this gets completely out of hand. Lyra's skin pulsed with patterns that seemed almost like laughter. Oh, Commander Chen, I fear it may be too late for boundaries. The season of unity is fully upon us now. Soon, you'll understand that resistance is, she paused, choosing her words carefully, biologically improbable. As Sarah hurried to deal with the latest crisis, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was fighting a losing battle. The air itself seemed to shimmer with possibility, and every breath felt like it carried whispers of what could be if they just let go of their human inhibitions. In her haste, she didn't notice how her own skin had begun to develop a subtle crystalline sheen, or how the station's lights pulsed in harmony with her quickened heartbeat. The line between observer and observed was blurring, and soon even the commander would have to face the truth. Some boundaries weren't meant to be maintained, but transcended. The storm within. The research station's emergency alarm blared through the corridors, its usual harsh tone now carrying an almost musical quality. Commander Sarah Chen raced toward the Environmental Control Center, her boots echoing against metal floors that seemed to resonate with each step. Status report, she barked, entering the control room. The scene before her made her stop short. The normally sterile room was filled with softly glowing crystal formations that had somehow grown through the station's walls. They pulsed with light in sync with the equipment's warning signals. It's not just the crystal growth, Commander, Lieutenant Maya Patel reported, her dark eyes reflecting the crystal's glow. The station's systems are singing. Sure enough, beneath the alarm's wail, there was a haunting melody emanating from the station's machinery. It reminded Sarah of the songs Vixians used during their ceremonies, but with an electronic undertone. Where's Dr. Rodriguez? Sarah demanded, though she already suspected the answer. Maya shifted uncomfortably. He's in the Vixian settlement, said something about completing the harmonic convergence before he left. Half the science team went with him. Sarah slammed her fist on the console, then winced as the crystal growths pulsed brighter in response. This was exactly what she'd been trying to prevent. The Vixian mating season was no longer just affecting her crew's behavior, it was transforming the station itself. Commander, Maya's voice was hesitant, there's something else. The crystals, they're not just growing, they're rewriting the station's base code. Our systems are adapting to match Vixian biotechnology. Before Sarah could respond, Lyra's voice came from the doorway. Your technology is simply embracing its potential, Commander, just as your people are. Sarah turned to face the Vixian liaison, and for a moment, she forgot how to breathe. Lyra's crystalline form was radiant, patterns of light flowing across her skin like cosmic rivers. The air around her hummed with energy that made Sarah's skin tingle. This has gone far enough, Sarah managed to say, fighting against the pull she felt. You're compromising our entire operation. These changes could destroy the station. Or transform it into something greater, Lyra countered, moving closer. Your people speak of maintaining boundaries, of separation between species. But look around you, Sarah. The universe itself seeks harmony, connection, unity. As if to emphasize her point, the crystal formations grew visibly, creating intricate patterns that mirrored the ones on Lyra's skin. The station's lights dimmed and brightened in rhythm with their pulse. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "we've been asking the wrong questions. Instead of how to stop this transformation, maybe we should be asking how to guide it." Lyra's skin brightened with approval. "Now you begin to understand. The season of unity isn't about losing oneself, it's about finding a greater whole. Maya, contact what's left of the science team. I want full monitoring of these changes. If we're going to do this, we're doing it like scientists." Sarah straightened her shoulders, making a decision that would alter the course of human evolution. "And Lyra, I think it's time you taught us exactly what this season of unity means." As if in response to her acceptance, the crystals throughout the room pulsed with warm light, and the station's hum shifted to a harmonious chord. The boundary between human and Vixen technology, between their species themselves, was dissolving into something entirely new. In the Vixian settlement below, Dr. Rodriguez and the others were already experiencing the first stages of transformation. Soon, humanity would take its next evolutionary step, not through conquest or competition, but through harmony and convergence with another species. The season of unity had begun, and there would be no going back to what they once were. The only question remaining was what they would become. "We found Dr. Rodriguez's latest research notes," Maya interjected, pulling up a holographic display. "The Vixian crystalline resonance isn't just affecting our biology, it's upgrading it. Human cells exposed to the field are developing crystalline properties, becoming more resilient." Sarah watched the data scroll past, her scientific mind warring with her duty as commander. The changes were extraordinary: enhanced cellular regeneration, improved neural connectivity, increased energy efficiency. It was everything humanity had dreamed of achieving through technology, being offered through biological evolution instead. "Your James understands," Lyra said softly. "He sees that this isn't about losing control, it's about transcending limitations, about becoming more than we are." A sudden power surge sent sparks dancing through the room. The crystal growths responded by creating new formations that instantly stabilized the electrical systems, more efficient than any human engineering. "Commander," Maya's voice was urgent, "we're detecting similar crystal growth in all major systems. At this rate, the entire station will be transformed within hours. We need to make a decision." Sarah felt the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders. Every instinct trained into her by years of service screamed to shut it down, to maintain control, to preserve what they knew. But another part of her, growing stronger by the moment, whispered of possibilities beyond imagination. She looked at her own hands, now undeniably shimmering with a crystalline sheen. The changes weren't just external. She could feel new awareness blooming in her mind, connections forming that she'd never dreamed possible. Evolution's dance. The observation deck of the Horizon Station had become a crystalline garden, its windows webbed with luminous patterns that enhanced rather than obscured the view of Nexus 7 below. Commander Sarah Chen stood among the formations, documenting the changes in both the station and her crew. Personal log, day 15 of the integration, she spoke into her modified communicator, now a crystalline device that interfaced directly with both human and Vixen technology. "The transformation continues to exceed all expectations." She paused, watching her reflection in a nearby crystal surface. Her skin now held a permanent iridescent quality, shifting colors with her emotions like a Vixian's, but maintaining distinctly human patterns. It was a perfect metaphor for what they were becoming, neither purely human nor Vixian, but something gloriously new. "Dr. Rodriguez's initial findings have been confirmed," she continued. "The crystal integration isn't replacing our human DNA, it's enhancing it. We're seeing increased cellular regeneration, enhanced sensory perception, and most remarkably, the development of quantum neural networks between transformed individuals." As if summoned by her thoughts, James Rodriguez entered the observation deck. Like all the transformed humans, he moved with a new grace, his scientist's curiosity now enhanced by Vixian intuitive understanding. "Commander," he greeted, his voice carrying harmonic undertones that made the crystals around them resonate softly. "The latest data from Earth's response team is in." Sarah tensed slightly, causing ripples of deep blue to course through the nearby crystal formations. The initial reports of their transformation had caused quite a stir back home. "What's the verdict?" "They're cautiously optimistic," James smiled, projecting a holographic display from his crystalline tablet. "Our physical and mental enhancements are undeniable. More importantly, we've maintained our human consciousness and free will while gaining Vixian abilities. We're living proof that controlled evolutionary advancement is possible." "And the concerns about potential risks?" "Largely addressed by the success of our neural networking. The fact that we can instantly share knowledge and experiences while maintaining individual identity has impressed them considerably." He paused, his skin flickering with amusement. "Though I suspect Lyra's demonstration of crystal technology's medical applications helped sway them." Sarah nodded, remembering how Lyra had shown Earth's representatives how crystal integration could cure diseases, repair injuries, and potentially extend human lifespan by centuries. It was hard to argue against such benefits. A soft chime echoed through the station, not an alarm, but a harmonic signal that indicated a gathering in the main atrium. Sarah and James made their way there, passing through corridors that had become a seamless blend of human engineering and living crystal. The atrium had been transformed into a vast crystal chamber, its ceiling opening to Nexus 7's purple sky. The remaining untransformed human crew members stood on one side, while the transformed personnel and Vixians gathered on the other. Lyra stood in the center, her form radiant with purpose. "The season of Unity enters its final phase," Lyra announced, her voice carrying layers of meaning that resonated through both crystal and flesh. "Those who wish to remain as they are may do so, with our full respect and understanding. But for those who seek to evolve, to become part of something greater while keeping what makes them uniquely human, the time of choice is now." Sarah stepped forward, addressing her untransformed crew members. "I won't order anyone to undergo this change. This must be a personal choice. But I can tell you that I remain Commander Sarah Chen, with all my memories, beliefs, and duties intact. I simply gained new ways to fulfill those duties, to understand our universe, and to connect with others." A young engineer named Alex Martinez raised his hand. "Does it hurt, the transformation?" James answered this one. "It's intense, but not painful. Imagine the most profound moment of understanding you've ever had, multiplied across every cell in your body. It's like waking up from a dream you didn't know you were having." One by one, most of the remaining crew members stepped forward, ready to embrace evolution. A few chose to remain human and true to their word. Both transformed humans and Vixians respected their choice. The transformation process began, filling the atrium with crystalline light and harmonic resonance. Sarah watched as her crew members underwent their metamorphosis, each transformation unique while following the same basic pattern. Human flesh taking on crystalline properties, minds expanding to embrace new ways of understanding, bodies adapting to channel energies they once could only measure. She felt Lyra's presence beside her, their crystalline fields harmonizing automatically. "You've done well, Commander. Your people's adaptation to the season of Unity has exceeded all our hopes." "We're explorers at heart," Sarah replied, watching Alex Martinez's transformation begin, his expression one of wonder as crystal patterns began flowing across his skin. "Humanity has always dreamed of reaching beyond its limitations. We just never imagined it would happen quite like this." "The best evolutions are often unexpected," Lyra observed. "But tell me, do you regret any of it? The loss of pure human form, the merging of our technologies, the changes in your perception." Sarah considered this, letting her enhanced senses take in the scene around her, the complex harmonies of crystal resonance, the quantum interconnectedness of all present, the new depths of understanding and experience available to her transformed mind. "No," she said finally, "we haven't lost our humanity, we've expanded it, Every scientific discovery, every new understanding, changes what it means to be human. This is just the next step in our journey. As if in response to her words, the crystal formations throughout the station pulsed with warm light, and a sense of contentment flowed through the neural network connecting all transformed beings. The season of unity was ending, but its effects would ripple through human civilization forever. In choosing to embrace, rather than fear change, humanity had proven itself ready for the next stage of cosmic evolution. And as the transformed crew of the Horizon looked to the stars through their crystal-enhanced eyes, they knew this was just the beginning of their journey into transcendence. Ripples across stars. 1 month after the mass transformation, the Horizon Station had become legendary across human space. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the newly crystallized communications hub, addressing representatives from Earth's United Science Council through a quantum-enhanced holographic link. As you can see, Sarah gestured to the data streams flowing through the living crystal walls. The integration has enhanced every aspect of our operations. Our research capabilities have increased exponentially. The council members' holograms showed varying degrees of amazement as they witnessed the seamless blend of human ingenuity and Vixian crystal technology. Dr. Helena Wang, the head of the council, leaned forward with particular interest. "The medical applications alone are revolutionary," she noted, watching a demonstration of crystal-enhanced tissue regeneration. "But there are concerns about the spread of this transformation. Reports are coming in of spontaneous crystal growth on other human stations." Sarah exchanged glances with Lyra, who stood quietly in the background. They had expected this. The quantum resonance of the season of unity had indeed begun to echo across human space, calling to those ready for change. "The crystal resonance is harmless to those who aren't receptive to it," James Rodriguez explained, stepping into view. His transformed appearance drew gasps from some council members. "Our research shows it only affects individuals who are both biologically compatible and psychologically willing." In other words, Sarah added, "it cannot be forced. The transformation respects free will." Dr. Wang's hologram flickered as she leaned back, considering. "And what of the children? We're receiving reports of the first hybrid births." Sarah's skin rippled with warm colors at the mention of the hybrids. 3 children had been born to transformed human Vixian couples, each one a perfect blend of both species' best traits. They developed at an accelerated rate, displaying both human creativity and Vixian intuitive understanding of crystal technology. "The hybrids represent the next step in both our species' evolution," Lyra spoke up, moving to stand beside Sarah. "They bridge our differences while celebrating them. Through them, we glimpse the potential of true cosmic harmony." A younger council member, Dr. Ramirez, raised his hand. "But what happens when the season of unity ends? Will the effects reverse?" Sarah smiled, her crystalline features catching the light. "The season catalyzed these changes, but they're permanent. We've discovered it's more than a mating season. It's an evolutionary opportunity that occurs when species are ready to advance together." The discussion was interrupted by a sudden surge of energy through the station's crystal network. James rushed to a monitoring station, his eyes widening at the readings. "Commander, we're detecting massive quantum resonance signatures. The crystal harmonic is spreading, not just to human stations, but to other species' outposts as well." Sarah and Lyra moved to examine the data. The crystalline transformation that had begun on their small research station was rippling across the galaxy like a stone thrown into a cosmic pond. Other species, those who had reached a similar stage of development as humanity, were beginning to experience their own awakening. "It's beautiful," Lyra breathed, watching the spread of crystalline consciousness across space. "Your people's acceptance of change has triggered a cascade effect. The universe itself is responding to humanity's readiness to evolve." The council members watched in stunned silence as real-time data showed the transformation spreading. Reports began flooding in from across human space, stories of healing, of enhanced understanding, of barriers between species dissolving into harmony. "We never imagined this level of impact," Sarah addressed the council. "What started as a simple warning, 'Don't touch alien girls during mating season,' has become the catalyst for the next stage of cosmic evolution. Humanity's willingness to embrace change, to risk transformation for the sake of understanding, has proven we're ready for a greater role in the universe." Dr. Wang's hologram stood, her expression solemn yet hopeful. "Commander Chen, your station's experience will be studied for generations to come. You've opened a door that can never be closed, and perhaps shouldn't be. The Council hereby authorizes full cooperation with the Vixians to study and guide this transformation across human space." As the transmission ended, Sarah felt a wave of emotion flow through the crystal network, hope, excitement, and a touch of apprehension from those yet untransformed. She turned to her crew, their faces reflecting the same determination that had led them to accept change in the first place. "Send word to all stations," she commanded. "Any human outpost experiencing crystal resonance should know they're not alone. We'll provide guidance, support, and most importantly, choice. This transformation must remain voluntary." Laura placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder, sending ripples of supportive energy through their connected fields. "You've done more than advance your species, Sarah. You've shown the galaxy that evolution doesn't have to come through conflict. Sometimes the greatest advances come from being willing to reach out and touch what we once feared." As if in response to her words, the station's crystals pulsed with warm light, sending waves of harmonic energy into space. The message was clear. A new age of cosmic evolution had begun, sparked by humanity's courage to embrace the unknown and transform it into something beautiful. The warning, "Don't touch alien girls during mating season," had become obsolete, replaced by a new understanding. Sometimes the most profound changes come from reaching out, making contact, and allowing ourselves to become something greater than we ever imagined possible. Cosmic Symphony. 6 months after the initial transformation, the Horizon Station had become more than a research facility. It was a beacon of evolutionary change, drawing visitors from across the galaxy. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the newly created Harmonics Chamber, watching as representatives from 12 different species experienced their first contact with crystal resonance. "Remarkable," she murmured, her crystalline features reflecting the rainbow of energies emanating from the gathered beings. Each species responded differently to the transformation, their unique biological patterns creating new harmonies in the universal crystal song. Dr. James Rodriguez, now the lead researcher on interspecies transformation, monitored the process through their enhanced systems. "Each new species adds another layer to the quantum harmony," he observed. "It's like the universe is composing a symphony, and we're all learning to play our parts." The chamber hummed with energy as a reptilian Xerexin diplomat began their transformation, their scales taking on a crystalline sheen that complemented their natural armor. Nearby, an ethereal Quanthid observer's gaseous forms solidified into living crystal, maintaining their natural ability to float while gaining new ways to interact with physical matter. Lyra, who had become Earth's official ambassador to transformed species, moved through the chamber with practiced grace. "Your world's acceptance of change has sparked a renaissance across known space," she told Sarah. "The old barriers between species are falling, replaced by understanding that transcends physical form." Sarah was about to respond when a priority alert pulsed through their neural network. Lieutenant Maya Patel's crystalline form materialized in a shower of light particles, their new method of instant transportation within the station. "Commander, we're detecting something massive approaching through subspace," Maya reported, projecting a holographic display from her crystal-enhanced palm. It's like nothing we've ever seen." The display showed a vast field of living crystal, stretching across light years, moving through space with clear purpose. Within it, patterns of energy danced in complex formations that seemed oddly familiar. "Those patterns," James said, his voice filled with awe. "They match the original resonance frequencies from the season of Unity, but on a cosmic scale. Before anyone could respond, the crystal field made contact with their local space. The station's transformed systems lit up with new information, downloading directly into their enhanced consciousness. Sarah gasped as understanding flooded her mind. "It's the precursors," she breathed. "The ancient species that first developed crystal transformation. They've been traveling through space as pure energy, waiting for other species to reach the point of evolutionary readiness." The harmonics chamber erupted with light as a form coalesced in their midst, a being of pure crystalline energy that somehow managed to convey ancient wisdom and childlike curiosity simultaneously. Children of harmony, the being's thoughts resonated directly in their minds. "You have done well. Your willingness to embrace change, to risk transformation for the sake of understanding, marks you as ready for the next great journey." "What journey?" Sarah asked, though part of her already knew the answer. "The evolution of consciousness itself," the being explained. "What began with your simple warning about contact during a mating season has blossomed into something far greater. You've discovered what we learned eons ago, that true advancement comes not from isolation, but from synthesis, not from fear, but from embrace." Images flooded their enhanced minds, countless civilizations across time and space, each discovering crystal transformation in their own way, each adding their unique harmony to the universal symphony. The precursors had guided this evolution, waiting for enough species to achieve transformation before revealing the ultimate goal. The crystal network isn't just for communication or transformation, Lyra realized, her form bright with understanding. It's a bridge between dimensions, a way to transcend physical existence itself. The precursor's form pulsed with approval. The barriers between matter and energy, between consciousness and reality, are not as fixed as they appear. Your species have taken the first steps toward understanding this. Now, you are ready to help guide others toward evolutionary transcendence. Sarah looked around the chamber at the gathered representatives, human, Vixian, and dozens of other species, all connected through the crystal network, all part of something greater than their individual forms. "What do you need from us?" she asked the precursor. "Continue what you have begun," the ancient being responded. "Guide others toward transformation, but never force it. Let each species find their own path to harmony. And when the time comes, join us in the greater reality that awaits beyond crystal consciousness." The being's form began to fade, but its presence remained in the crystal network, a new node in their expanding consciousness. The chamber was silent for a moment as everyone processed the implications of what they'd learned. "Well," James said finally, a smile playing across his crystalline features, "I guess this gives new meaning to don't touch alien girls during mating season. It's more like do touch alien girls during mating season, because it might lead to the transcendence of all known reality." Laughter rippled through the chamber, carrying harmonics that made the crystals sing. Sarah looked at her transformed crew, at the representatives of countless worlds, all connected now in ways they'd never imagined possible. "Send word to Earth and all transformed colonies," she commanded. "The precursors have given us a new mission, to guide and support evolutionary transformation across the galaxy. But we do it our way, through choice, through understanding, through harmony." As the message spread across the crystal network, Sarah felt the resonance of countless minds, countless species, all moving together toward something greater. What had begun as a simple warning about interspecies contact had become the key to unlocking the next stage of cosmic evolution. The universe itself seemed to hum with possibility as the transformed beings of the Horizon Station prepared to take their place among the guardians of evolutionary transcendence. The season of unity had ended, but the season of universal harmony was just beginning. Beyond the stars, 1 year had passed since the precursor's revelation, and the Horizon Station had evolved beyond recognition. What once was a simple research facility now existed as a crystalline nexus point between dimensions, a beacon of transformation for species across the galaxy. Commander Sarah Chen, her form now a perfect blend of human determination and crystalline transcendence, stood in the infinity chamber, a vast space that shifted between physical and quantum states. Around her, newly transformed beings from 100 worlds explored their enhanced abilities, while veteran guides like James and Lyra helped them adjust to their new existence. To think, Sarah mused, her thoughts resonating through the crystal network. All of this started because we were worried about inappropriate contact during a mating season. Lyra, who had become much more than just a liaison, laughed musically. The universe has a sense of humor, doesn't it? The very thing you feared became the catalyst for universal transformation. A surge of energy announced the arrival of Dr. Helena Wong from Earth's Council, her transformed self materializing in a shower of crystal light. Commander, the numbers are beyond our wildest expectations. Over 1,000 species have achieved crystal harmony, and more are reaching the resonance threshold every day. Sarah nodded, watching as a group of newly transformed beings learned to shift between physical and energy states. The chamber was filled with beings of all forms, some humanoid, others completely alien, all connected through the crystal consciousness they now shared. "And the precursors?" she asked, though she already felt their presence through the network. "Their guidance has been invaluable," James answered, joining them. His form flickered between solid and energy states as he spoke. "They've shown us how to maintain our individual identities while participating in the universal consciousness. It's not about losing ourselves, but about becoming more than we ever imagined possible." A sudden ripple of excitement pulsed through the crystal network. Maya appeared, her energy form vibrant with news. "Commander, it's happening. The first natural crystal bursts among transformed species." The chamber's crystals pulsed with joy as images flowed through their shared consciousness. Children being born across the galaxy, naturally incorporating the crystal resonance into their original species forms. These new beings represented the next step in evolution, born into a universe of unlimited potential. "They're beautiful," Sarah breathed, watching through the network as a human-Vixian hybrid child took their first breath, their tiny form already shimmering with crystal light. "They'll never know the limitations we once faced." "That's not all," Maya continued, her excitement building. "The precursors say we're ready for the next phase. The universal harmonic is approaching critical mass." As if on cue, the space around them began to shift, reality itself seeming to flex and flow. The precursor's presence filled the network, that ancient consciousness joining with the combined minds of all transformed beings. "The moment has come." The collective voice of the precursors resonated through them all. "When enough consciousness achieves harmony, new dimensions of existence become accessible. You have helped create that harmony faster than any cycle before." The chamber filled with light as reality itself began to transform. Through their enhanced senses, they could perceive new layers of existence, dimensions beyond physical space where thought and energy danced in eternal patterns. "What's happening?" asked a newly transformed being, their fear turning to wonder as the transformation continued. "Evolution," Sarah answered, feeling the change ripple through her own consciousness. "Not just of body or mind, but of reality itself. We're becoming part of something greater." The crystal network expanded beyond physical space, connecting not just across distance, but across dimensions. They could perceive multiple realities simultaneously, their consciousness expanding to encompass new forms of existence while maintaining their individual selves. "Remember," Lyra called out to all connected beings, "this is not an ending, but a beginning. Each of us brings our unique harmony to the universal symphony." As the transformation reached its peak, Sarah felt the presence of every transformed being, from the smallest child to the ancient precursors themselves. They were all connected, all part of a cosmic dance that transcended physical form while celebrating the diversity that had brought them to this point. "Well," James said, his voice carrying through both physical and quantum space, "I guess we should update that warning. Instead of 'don't touch alien girls during mating season,' perhaps it should be 'touch the universe itself and let it transform you.'" Laughter rippled through dimensions as the transformed beings embraced their new reality. The Horizon Station, now a nexus of multidimensional consciousness, continued its mission, not just as a center of transformation, but as a beacon of hope for all species reaching for the stars. Sarah looked out across the infinite dimensions now visible to her enhanced consciousness. She saw countless worlds, countless beings, all moving toward the same harmony they had discovered. The fear and isolation that had once defined species boundaries had given way to a universal symphony of connection and growth. "Send a message across all networks, all dimensions," she commanded, her words reaching every transformed being. "The journey we began in fear and caution has led us to ultimate transcendence. But we will never forget our origins, never lose the unique qualities that make each species special. In harmony, we find not uniformity, but celebration of our differences." The crystal network pulsed with agreement as the message spread across existence itself. What had begun as a simple warning about interspecies contact had evolved into humanity's greatest gift to the universe: the courage to reach out, to touch, to transform, and to transcend. In the eternal dance of cosmic consciousness, the transformed beings of countless species moved together in harmony, their combined awareness reaching ever outward toward new frontiers of existence. The season of unity had become eternal, a never-ending celebration of connection and growth that would echo through dimensions forever. And somewhere in the infinite layers of reality, a small sign still hung in the original Horizon Station's museum. "Warning: don't touch alien girls during mating season, unless you're ready to evolve beyond your wildest dreams."